Hi everyone, and welcome to How to Win the Dating Game. I'm Trudy Gilbert, known as Australia's Millionaire Matchmaker and founder of Elite Introductions International. And today's episode is about why dating apps are ruining your love life. Now, this obviously is not a new position, but in light of a new book by major influencer and New York best-selling author and journalist Nancy Jo Sales, we thought it was very pertinent to discuss this. Also, as this podcast series is about winning the dating game towards one goal, not to have as many hookups as possible, there's plenty of material for that. No, it's about finding a serious partner and building a life together. So we need to address this subject early in this process because realistically, if you are using dating apps as your source for love, you are destined for failure. I'm joined here today with Andy, part of the Elite team. And if you are new to the show, he is also my partner.
Hi, everyone.
And we're going to chew the fat today on why dating apps are really ruining your love life.
Yeah. So this topic is, like Trudy was saying, is pretty timely because of the new Nancy Jo Sales book. What's it called again, Trudy?
Nothing Personal, My Secret Life in the Dating App Inferno.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Nancy's pretty legendary. She is famous for a piece that she wrote for Vanity Fair quite a few years back called Tinder and the Dawn of the Dating Apocalypse. And we're going to have a chat about this article because it was one of the first pieces to shine a spotlight on the dysfunction of dating and how dangerous it is to seek love through the apps.
Yeah, that article went viral.
Yeah,
that was the first sort of real spotlight piece on, hey, this is kind of crazy.
It's quite amazing because it was back in 2015 when, I believe apps were still in their, infancy, or at least the first few years. I mean,
well, Tinder started in 2012.
Yeah,
it was by 2015. It was pretty hardcore.
Yeah,
like a lot of people, particularly younger people, were using it quite regularly at that point.
So let's look at a quote from that article, which I'll read out to you now, and it's quite interesting. All right. People used to meet their partners through proximity, through family and friends. But now, internet meeting is surpassing every other form. It's changing so much about the way we act, both romantically and sexually. It is unprecedented from an evolutionary standpoint. As soon as people go online, they are using it in a way to find partners to date and have sex with. In the 90s, it was Craigslist and AOL chat rooms, then Match.com and Kiss.com. But the lengthy, heartfelt emails exchanged by the main characters in You've Got Mail in 1998, for those of you that are in our age vintage, you may remember that movie. I know I do. Those emails seemed positively Victorian in comparison to the messages sent on the average dating app today. I'll get a text that says, "Wanna fuck?" says Jennifer, 22, a senior at Indiana University. They'll tell you, "Come over and sit on my face," says her friend, Ashley, 19.
Wow.
Now, sorry about the swearing for you guys, if that...
We'll put the explicit title.
Yeah, I think we needed to do that. I felt a bit cautious saying that.
Yeah, but it's quite shocking, isn't it? It's just completely removed any concept of courting it, and obviously that those kind of comments are being made because they can be.
It's outrageous that a platform like that, people are volunteering to be exposed to that kind of behaviour.
I think it's natural human behaviour where you keep removing boundaries and people will keep pushing the boundary, and the poorer behaviours will push the boundary, and then it will become normalised for everyone else. And that's what happens. It doesn't matter what it's about. In this subject, it's about sex and dating, but it's just a really natural, unfortunate thing that humans do.
As we get stuck into this topic, should we just first of all discuss why people use the apps?
What is the pro? Or why are people there? People still want to connect, right? Everybody on that platform is there for the same reason. So it gives it
No, that I would dispute that. They're not all there for the same reason.
They're there to connect, right? So whether you're at work or at the gym or at a club or at a wedding or whatever. There's an array of people in all different stages of life on different journeys, but everybody on an app is there for a particular reason.
Yeah, but the problem is that reason is murky. Some people are there just to have a casual encounter, and other people are there for a long-term relationship. Some people could be there because they just want to get practiced at dating, and they're newly single, so they want to go out and meet a few people and get back into the dating game. But hence lies the problem that if you have one intention, how do you know that you're meeting people with the same intention as yours?
I'm wondering if anybody has that intention anymore. I mean, they probably want it, but they know that that's not the place to find relationships, but they just don't know where else to go. Like it's very easy to assume there are no other options. This is the way of dating in the modern world.
Well, I would like to encourage those people to seek other options. And in fact, we're doing an episode next on how to meet people, anywhere. And outside of the apps, and just be able to use any opportunity as a way of meeting someone, because the apps, I mean, if we really break it down, there are so many aspects that are negative to the whole app culture. I mean, firstly,
I remember that Vanity Fair article introduced me to the term Tinderella. That was the first time I heard that term. I was like, God, it's just so crazy that there's now a title for women who are actively on dating apps, and now they have a term for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, what about the men that are on there that are sleeping with 3, 4, 5 women in a week?
Oh, they're called legends.
Yeah. So I mean, where is
it's another platform, but it's the same double standards that have always been in society.
Yeah, it's just terrible. I mean, I refer to it as disposable dating. There is this mindset behind using the app that there is a sea of endless possibilities of options for you. You go on the app and you swipe. I think you swipe left.
Yeah, I think
it's left for no.
No, left is no.
Yeah,
left
and
is
right
no,
is
and
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you go on the app and you swipe left and you just continue swiping, and then you might find someone that you like. But
that's not how guys do it. Guys just swipe right on everything.
Yeah,
and then
I've heard that.
Wait for connections.
I've heard that.
I remember hearing years ago, because I had a friend that was pretty active on them when it was first introduced to me, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And some guy out of Hong Kong had created a device, a little machine that had like a little rubber spinning wheel that you could put against your phone, so you could you could swipe right like hundreds of times a minute.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So you could buy this little device that would automatically swipe right on everybody in the system, so you could give you more chances.
Wow. He really didn't want to miss an opportunity, did he?
It was crazy.
God. Yeah, wow. That kind of approach is just breeding a disposable attitude, towards dating, towards people, that they can be easily replaced. Oh, look, I've made a judgment of someone based on very limited information, like a photo, that we all know aren't even accurate or up to date, that people famously post photos of themselves 10 years, 15 years younger. I mean, I know that I've had clients who have told me that they've gone on dates and they've literally looked at the person and, then back at the app and gone,
it's not even the same person. Basically.
What were you thinking? Did you think you were going to get away with it?
Could you imagine if you did that if you were a company and you did that with a product?
Oh my God.
You'd end up in a courtroom or definitely bankrupt.
But what boggles my mind is that, do you think that I'm not going to notice? I'm not going to be disappointed?
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for failure by
be a
posting
disaster,
something of yourself that's not accurate. I mean, it's amazing, it's mind-boggling. So, making an assessment from a photo of someone that isn't even accurate, and then swiping and just going, well, I've got so many options. There are thousands of people on here. I'll just keep swiping until I find a 10 out of 10 or, or a 9 out of 10. But I'm not going to settle for that, because that's a 6 or a 7. But I mean, what a horrible way of assessing people. What about their core values, their humor, their intellect, their compassion or their passion, all of the traits that make us interesting and unique and help create connection? None of that's being paraded or viewed. It's all a superficial assessment.
I think if you talk about photos too, I mean, they're just so inaccurate anyway. Even if someone wasn't trying to deceive, somebody who's got really strong features can look like a bit too striking in a photo and doesn't look pretty, like male or female. But
they can all be doctored with They can all be doctored with filters.
Even if they weren't, like that might not like present well in a photo, but when you meet them in person, they're really attractive because you see them moving 3-dimensional. It's completely different.
Yes.
Someone who can look quite sort of soft and delicate in a photo because they've got softer features might look really pretty in a photo, but when you see them, it makes them, in real life, they're less interesting or something like that. So just making these decisions from two-dimensional photos it's a flawed system anyway.
Yeah, it really is. But this whole quick judgment, and as I said, this sea of options means that people are going on dates and finding out that, well, that person doesn't tick all my boxes, so I'm going to go back to the app and find someone who does. There's no investment anymore in getting to know someone. It's just a quick, it could be a quick wham bam thank you ma'am scenario, which, as we know, the apps began from a hookup culture. The forefather of the app industry, so to speak, was Grindr.
Yeah. The whole male geosocial thing and that whole culture.
And that's carried through to now to heterosexual, obviously going on an app trying to find someone for a relationship is virtually impossible.
Yeah. It's just very difficult because the mentality has been doctored to be acceptable, and this whole meeting for sex has been completely normalized. And it's such a different headspace than where you would be when you're looking for a relationship.
That's right. I mean, you look back at the quote that we just read earlier and the reference that they made to the film You've Got Mail. I do remember that film.
Yeah.
With Meg Ryan and
Tom
I think
Hanks.
it's Tom Hanks. Yeah, and he writes really beautiful emails to her to woo her, and they really bare their souls. And by the end of the film, that they're in love with one another. But that's
a journey of love. That's a journey of connection and relationship.
That's right.
Whereas what's happening with the dating apps, it's a journey towards sex.
Correct.
So first of all, you're looking at a 2D photo, then you're sending a few messages, and sometimes obviously it's horrendous. It just goes straight to, hey, let's have sex. But if not, they might have a bit of a chat exchange. And then there's almost an expectation that's the entire courting period. Now, when you meet, sex becomes expected. So even if you meet them and you go, I don't really like this person, probably won't ever see them again, but I've done all this groundwork, so of course we're going to have sex now. Crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't know if everybody's aware, but there was a study done by Tinder which showed that 42% of people on the app weren't even single. 42%.
Right. Yeah.
So you're chatting with people that
have no intention of even ever meeting.
Aren't even single. They're probably
available.
Either still in a relationship or they're separated or whatever it is. They're just wasting your time and chatting because it gives them a bit of a rush. It's fun to flirt and have a chat with people.
It's a dopamine hit.
It's a dopamine hit, and hence the next problem with these apps is that there's a sense of gamification that goes along with being on there. Oh, I've got a notification. Somebody likes me. Oh, there's a message. Who wants to talk to me? It makes the user feel good, so they are more inclined to go back to the app and keep using it. I mean, there was another statistic I read that said something like we're spending, anywhere between 3 to 4 hours a day on an app, to try and obviously, chatting, making dates, fostering the relationship to see where it goes. And that's a huge amount of your time.
It's the same emotional lure as social networking, but it's on steroids.
And gambling.
Yeah, and gambling, yeah, for sure.
It's the whole setup is just designed to keep you on the app rather than get you into a relationship.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to touch on that we haven't even spoken about yet is the emotional trauma that can come from being on an app and how you are treated.
Not to mention the potential physical dangers.
Well, yes, we'll get to that as well. So let's start with the emotional. Things like ghosting and catfishing I mean, we all know these terms because they've just become part of the zeitgeist, you know, the mainstream.
Shocking, isn't it?
Because these things happen. And, you know, there's no accountability. People can say and do what they want and behave however they feel is appropriate in their own minds, which may not be to my standards or your standards, but yet people are allowed to get away with this. I mean, ghosting people can be super traumatic. You know, you're in an intimate relationship with someone, you're connecting, you're sharing, you're talking, you're being sexually active, and then all of a sudden, just like that, they disappear on you. No explanation, no warning, no reason, and you're left completely confused, bewildered, dumbfounded, shocked. Then you might go into a bit of, you know, like depression or mourning about what happened. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something? Why did it end? And yet that person has just decided, well, I've got a better option. Somebody else has come along that I'd rather pursue. Or, you know, that was getting too heavy, too emotionally invested, and I don't want to go there. I want to keep it light. You know?
It's just another example of the whole, like, if you're allowed to do it, you do it. You know, that can happen. The you know, people with lower character will push those boundaries first, but it becomes normalized, and then, you know, it's just a natural human behavior. All of a sudden that stuff becomes acceptable. Like, you'll do it because you can get away with it.
That's right.
And then it becomes normal.
That's right.
Everybody's forced to get on board. It's quite horrendous.
It's shocking. Yeah. I think you've got a really good statistic that you wanted to mention about the physical dangers of being on the apps.
Oh yeah, that Columbia journalism one that was in that article. Here, let me find it. There it is. Columbia Journalism Investigations surveyed 1,200 women and found that more than a third of them reported being sexually assaulted or raped by someone they met through a dating platform.
Oh my God, that's
a third. That's
sickening.
It's just a representation of how normalized the behavior has become, where you think you can get away with things, and it's a clear indication of how important it is to get to know someone before you really get to know someone, or find someone that's been introduced, or have some sort of character check, or, you know, of course, you know, the white elephant in the room is using a matchmaker, but like, whatever it is, you find a way to get to somebody where there's some sort of connection, some sort of history, where they feel reliable to you. Right. They feel responsible to you.
That's right.
That's a kind of small town kind of vibe, right? You know, you can't do something out of whack if you're in a small town, because everyone's going to find out about it. So if that person's part of your community somehow, then you know, there are protections involved. You know, you have your own boundaries. But if there's no protection, then
people can behave like cowboys.
Yeah, that's right.
And even worse.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
I think that, you know, look, we've really dissed the apps, but, you know, there really are a lot of fundamental flaws with the way that they have been constructed, the culture, the usage, the philosophy, you know, the way that people approach it. And another problem is that they're very male-centric, in that it's all about the visual, and it's all about kind of like, it's a breeding ground for narcissists who can just do what they want, men meeting as many women as they can and betting them as fast as they can, and, you know,
well, it's connected to men's evolutionary sort of inclinations around spreading their seed. So it's a platform to be able to tap into sort of the Neanderthal version of men, and it goes against the female evolutionary process, which is to find a mate who can protect her and her offspring. So when you go back to the evolutionary basis, this monolith has been designed to sort of regress men back into like this primal behavior that's so far from the social standard, and it's forcing women to go against theirs in order to conform.
Yeah, you highlight a really valid point there. Which is another great concern.
Yeah.
You know, so look, I mean, how do we summarize? You go on an app, you don't know anything about the person's true intention. You don't even know if they're actually single. You don't know if their photos are recent or any of the information is accurate.
Right.
You spend hours a day swiping, searching, chatting with potential suitors. So you're wasting your most valuable asset, which is time. I say to my clients, you could be on an app. You could find someone or you could be on there for years. It is random luck. If you happen to meet someone who has the same shared values and vision and motivation of a long-term relationship as you, it is total randomness. You know,
I remember that whole do you remember that whole thing about how many times you have to swipe right? There was some
yeah, that's right. You have to swipe right on average 61 times.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And then only 7% of men will actually contact you.
Someone that's been matched. Yeah.
Once you've been matched. And, you know, and then
21% of women. So it was a little bit more likely for the guys to get contacted, but it was only 7% of men that were doing the contact. Yeah, that's right.
So that's a lot of time being spent investing in an activity that can't give you a guaranteed outcome. So obviously I'm a business owner, so I'm all about ROI. Am I going to invest my time in an activity that just doesn't give me any guaranteed return on my investment?
So did you see, back in the day, did you see apps as a threat to you? Like back when they first started and they started to take off, did you see it as a threat to the business?
100% we did. So much so that we tried to get out in front of it. And I created an online version of Elite. It was called Ruby Radar. And we tried to make it more of a mix of, a dating app versus Facebook. We tried to make it a classier, more stylized way for people to meet. And we found, though, that the culture just wouldn't allow it. It just kept wanting to get to that hookup stage. And
you couldn't keep it clean. Basically.
We couldn't keep it clean, and it just went against our values, which were, connection and common values and interests and sharing more of your life and
working towards a relationship.
Exactly, and the beast just wouldn't have it. So. Tamed. Yeah, the beast wouldn't be tamed. So we decided to withdraw from that and return to our core model, which was the personalized introductions.
Right. So tell me when, because now it's so common. We hear when you talk to people that are calling us about what their headspace is around dating apps now. Says there has been an exodus away from it. When did that happen, and what happens now?
There has been a total shift. I've noticed in the last, particularly in the last, I'd say, 2 years, there's been a growing anti-app movement. I speak to clients, to people who ring up to inquire about the service, that they are just completely over the apps. They say to me, I just can't do them anymore. It's soul destroying. It's wasting my time. The caliber of people on there are just not what I'm looking for. There's no way to check anybody's intention. There is a growing dissatisfaction among the single community that the apps are just not the place to be to find a relationship.
And are you getting that from both men and women?
Absolutely, from both genders. I've had men say to me that they've been approached by women who are escorts on the apps looking for clients. I've heard all sorts of stories.
Well, I was just going to mention that I've got a younger buddy, Enrico, who's a millennial. And, I told him my first thought was that it was more the men that were sort of bailing out of the dating app thing were kind of more mature, looking to settle down, and sort of that might have been the 40 plus area. He just corrected me. He just said, he's got so many mates that are in the late 20s, early 30s that just hate them. They feel like they're trapped inside them the same way that the women do. They might have gotten the reward initially from the sort of multiple sex partner stuff, but they realize that they're just not getting emotional fulfillment, and they want more. It's amazing that it's happening to both genders.
Yeah, I get a lot of calls from men who are over the apps as well. They're starving for a genuine connection with someone. They want to have a family. They want to build a future with someone, and the apps just aren't doing it.
Yeah.
So let's draw all this together, right? So you're going to go on an app to meet someone that you have no idea whether they have the same intention as you, whether they're actually who they say they are, because their photo could be 10, 15 years, out of date. Their information probably isn't even accurate. They waste your time, and, even most of them might not even be single. If you do meet someone, you run the risk of being ghosted or catfished or any of the other, emotional dramas, that can happen. You might even be physically abused. And yet you are willing to sign yourself up for all of this. And you go back for more after you've had a bad date to see someone else is around. It's free. Why would you put yourself through it? It's no wonder that there's a mass exodus and that people are deleting the apps in droves, which is what I recommend that you do. Don't lie to yourself. This is not an effective or acceptable avenue in order to seek a serious relationship.
Okay, so if this is where people are now, and it's been made abundantly clear that it doesn't work, so what do people do?
Well, Andy, I'm glad that you asked me, because that's the topic for next week's episode.
Okay. How
to meet anyone, anywhere, and delete the apps forever. We're going to give you some insights on how you can meet anyone, anywhere, how you can turn the tables on the dating app culture and bring romance back, bring connection back. We're going to give you tips and insights on how you can bring connection and romance back into the dating game.
Sounds great. We'll see you next week.
We sure will.
Visit trudygilbert.com, that's Trudy with a Y, for more amazing resources on finding your ideal partner and nurturing your dream relationship. For great video tips and advice on dating and relationships, visit the Elite Introductions International Facebook page, Insta page and YouTube channel. Or just go to trudygilbert.com and follow the social links at the bottom of the page.